These dungeons are rightfully considered the most terrible place in Russia, and the most terrible prison in the country, because here the most bloodthirsty people of the state, maniacs, cannibals, terrorists, and leaders of gangster groups are kept behind 7 locks. Journalists who spent a long time serving in this area in order to interview one of the local serial killers, and returning home for weeks, cannot come to their senses, and for a long time do not communicate with anyone from their circle. And this is not surprising, because what they heard and saw in the most terrible prison in Russia subsequently remains in their heads and nightmares for the rest of their lives. We will talk about a special regime prison, Black Dolphin, which is located in the Orenburg region. The official name of this statement is IKA number 6. In this prison, local inmates live in their cells under 24/7 surveillance. The measures to protect the murderers sitting here are so scrupulous that when one prisoner is taken for a walk, he is accompanied in this event by a whole detachment of guards and service dogs. For their terrible and extremely inhumane atrocities, these prisoners will remain in the gloomy Black Dolphin until the end of their days. If one of the local thugs thinks of spending his time not in solitary confinement, but in a double or even a 4-bed cell, then it will bring him little joy. Local prisoners are prohibited from having conversations with their cellmates. The most they can do is exchange a few phrases. This creepy place got its name thanks to the fountain standing in the courtyard, in the form of a sculpture of a dolphin painted with black paint. It is noteworthy that the Zakis themselves will never see this local landmark. Despite the fact that the path of the newly arrived maniacs and murderers lies from the paddy wagon to the prison doors past the sculpture, none of them can see the dolphin. The fact is that at this moment there is a canvas bag on the head of each of them. There are 3 reasons for this. First, to disorient the convicts and prevent them from remembering the location of the objects. The second and main reason is that this is done for the sake of the prisoners themselves. There are several multi-story buildings around the colony, in which mercenary snipers can be stationed at any time. The problem is that not all relatives of the victims consider a life sentence for these scoundrels to be a sufficient punishment. And thirdly, there is another important factor. Some of the prisoners know more than their influential accomplice who remains at large would like. They don't really want to go here to the free bunks with their accomplices. That is why all escorts wear identical canvas bags over their heads, so that a potential killer cannot identify his victim. Black Dolphin Prison is designed for 1,600 prisoners. Currently there are 90 prisoners held here. It is noteworthy that there are approximately the same number of guards guarding these fanatics. Interesting fact. In total, the guests of this terrible establishment killed more than 4,000 people, that is, about 5 murders for each. One of the most famous people of the Black Dolphin is Alexander Maslik, who is also called the prison cannibal. For the atrocities he committed, Maslik even ended up in the Russian criminal encyclopedia. According to the criminal case, as a child this man was regularly subjected to torture, beatings, and sexual violence from high school students on the internet. As a result, he grew into a classic monster who hated everything human. He began to engage in thefts, was arrested and convicted. Finding himself in prison in 1991, he immediately strangled his cellmate, only because he was older than him in age. He received 12 years for this, but could no longer stop, and continued to kill convicted prisoners, bringing his sentence to life. The most egregious case was the latter. When he was put in a punishment cell in the Rubtsovsk colony, he, together with the convicted Golosov, agreed to kill the 3rd prisoner in the cell, named Jayuba, and eat him. When night fell, they strangled the cellmate, and after that, for the rest of the night, they carved up the unfortunate man's body with a safety razor blade. Then, they expertly cooked Jayuba's liver using the mattress cotton for the fire. Golosov could not bring himself to eat the flesh, but Maslik dined with pleasure. Maslik happily reported to the stunned guard who opened the cell door in the morning. "We ate Jayuba, for real." Golosov was then given 15 years, Maslik was given the death penalty, which was later changed to life imprisonment due to a moratorium. It is noteworthy that at first Maslash was mistakenly placed in a 3-person cell in a Black Dolphin, which made the local guards quite worried. They say that at every noise they ran straight to his cell, fearing that he would kill someone again. When the mistake was corrected, the guards finally exhaled with relief. And another resident of the terrible prison and serial killer, whose name still brings horror to the residents of the Rostov region, Vladimir Mukhankin. His mother named him after Lenin, not even suspecting that her son's ideal would be a completely different person. Andrei Chikatilo, whose terrible crimes Mukhankin decided to surpass. In the 1990s of the last century, this non-human killed 8 people with his own hands, after which he butchered his victims and put the excised organs in his bed, as he put it, for a good sleep. The monster was caught by accident when he was identified by one of the surviving victims. During the interrogation, the maniac behaved defiantly, did not repent of what he had done, called himself Shikatil's student. They also said that in comparison with him, Shikatil was a chicken, since Mukhankin, unlike him, killed more people in a shorter period of time. But, perhaps, the most vile murderer of the Black Dolphin is the cannibal Vladimir Nikolov, originally from Novokiboksersk. It is impossible to listen to his life story without gag reflexes. This subhuman committed his first murder by accident. In 1997, Nikolov killed his drinking buddy. After that, he dismembered the victims so that he could pack them piece by piece into bags and take them out and throw them out of town. Then something terrible happened. Fairly tired from fussing with the victim, Nikolov felt that he was hungry, and without thinking twice he cut off a piece of his drinking companion's flesh, opened it and ate it. But the scoundrel did not like the taste of boiled human meat, and then he already fried the second piece of flesh. It turned out to be tastier this way, Nikolov recalls. The cannibal did not stop there, he decided to do a good deed and treat his relative's drinking companion to a piece of meat. He, pleased with such attention from Nikolov, brought the meat home, and his wife prepared dumplings, which she ate herself and fed to the children. Nikolov committed the second murder deliberately. He also ate part of the corpse of another drinking companion, and sold part of it at the market. Soon the cannibal was exposed. His acquaintance, together with his wife, and from the received saiga tenderloin, as Nikolov called the human meat, also prepared dumplings, which they treated to the neighbors at the entrance. The taste of the dumplings seemed suspicious, and they brought the strange product to the doctor. A simple analysis showed that the minced meat contained traces of human blood. Soon after this, the cannibal was detained and convicted. But the Black Dolphin contains not only maniacs and cannibals. There are many extremists here who have committed high-profile terrorist attacks. One of them is Isa Zaynudinov, who recently turned 85 years old. In 1999, Zaynudinov became one of the perpetrators of the bombing of a residential building in Benaksk, Dagestan. The terrorist attack killed 64 people. Another perpetrator of this crime, Ali Sultan Salikhov, is also in the Black Dolphin. By the way, so that the employees of IC number 6 do not relax, so to speak, and do not forget who they are protecting. At the entrance to each cell there are signs that list all the crimes of the convicts. The entire life of Black Dolphin prisoners is subject to a strict daily routine. Having risen at 6:00, the prisoners fill their bunks and wash themselves. Breakfast starts at 6:30. At 7:15, after breakfast, power sockets are turned on in the colony. Prisoners can use razors or boil water. Anyone who didn't have time was late. At exactly 8:00, the sockets are turned off and the check begins. In this government place, democracy does not exist for murderers. No one here takes pity on these degenerates. They are led around the territory only in a bent position, head to knees, hands high behind their backs, in criminal language like a swallow. Murderers are strictly forbidden to look the employees of the institution in the eyes. Otherwise they may be beaten to death. This is so that the convicts cannot remember what their tormentors and guards look like, and not take revenge on occasion. The handcuffs of prisoners outside the cell are removed only in the chapel so that they can be baptized in the shower. The prisoners are fed sparingly, given mainly soup and bread. There are no dining rooms at Black Dolphin, so food is served in iron bowls through a window in the door. Moreover, for the safety of the staff, the plates are served on special blades so as not to get close to the window with the prisoner. After lunch, the prisoners begin cleaning their cells. Then, listening to the radio until 17:00 and dinner at 18:00. This is followed by an evening check, and at 20:30 the sockets in the cells are turned on again. Convicts of the Black Dolphin go to bed at 22:00. From getting up in the morning until bedtime, sitting on the bunk, much less lying down, is strictly prohibited. There are very few options for having fun in IKA number 6, prisoners are not allowed to smoke, for which they will immediately face a punishment cell. A little relaxation, the opportunity to watch TV. To do this, the Black Dolphin must be sentenced to at least 10 years, and the convicts' relatives must buy a TV. But not everyone has them. Many people's loved ones turn away when they learn what they have done. The main dream of the local contingent is, of course, to be released, which is not surprising, but they still have a chance for such a miracle. According to the current legislation of the Russian Federation, those sentenced to life can apply for conditional early release after serving 25 years behind bars. The main and obligatory condition for this is the absence of comments, starting from the 22nd year of imprisonment. But with all this, the statistics of murderers and maniacs are not comforting. Everyone who applied for parole was refused. It is believed that judges, according to an unwritten rule, always refuse such a petitioner. Therefore, the colony still remains a place from which prisoners can leave only in one case, only after death.